Hey everyone, welcome to a special bonus Locked On Lakers for a Monday afternoon. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers make a big trade on Monday, acquiring Washington Wizards forward Rui Hachimura for 3 second-round picks. We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day and every afternoon. We appreciate the support there. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to find the show. Big response for Monday's show, first show, I should say, Andy, after the huge comeback in Portland. The Lakers building on that momentum by making a trade. It was announced Monday morning on the West Coast that the Lakers have acquired.
Reported, we should say. The Lakers have not officially announced this.
It's not been announced. You're correct, but it is reportedly a done deal. The Lakers acquiring Washington Wizards forward Rui Hachimura for 3 second-round picks.
And Kendrick Nunn.
But mostly 3 second-round picks. It's true. I forgot about Kendrick Nunn.
He is a human being.
He is, and it absolutely deserves to be mentioned as one of the things going to Washington. But I forgot. I kind of was focused on the picks because Kendrick Nunn, and that's one of the things we can talk about. One of the things that makes this deal make some sense as a starting point for the Lakers is the swapping of a guard, particularly one that hasn't played very well, with a 6'8" wing. Who has his own, history of inconsistent play, to say the very least, in Washington. But at the very least, Andy, fits the bill much more of what the Lakers need from a roster construction standpoint compared to Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nunn was in a lot of ways, beyond just the up and down nature of his play this season, he was expendable because there's so many undersized guards on the roster. They could clearly spare one fewer this year. And Hachimura seemed like he was, if not to the Lakers, going to be traded somewhere because he had been outwardly unhappy with his place on the team in Washington this year. He had recently been asked if he had requested a trade, and his response was no comment, which is basically saying, yep, I requested a trade. Thank you very much. He
said he wants to be somewhere where he's wanted and appreciated as a basketball player.
Right. And on top of it, last season for him, and maybe even this season as well, I don't remember off the top of my head, like he had been dealing with what had been described as some mental health issues, personal issues that, I'm sure at some point we may learn more about what was going on with that, and whether they're directly linked to his relationship with the Wizards or not, it speaks to a time in DC that feels like it was on the verge of ending.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. And in similar to the Lonnie Walker situation, you have a team that isn't committed to bringing the guy back. Like there's a very wide open question as to whether or not the Wizards,
which says something because he was their 9th overall pick.
Correct. And I want to get into
years ago.
There's a lot to unpack with this trade. That some of it gets into signs of what the Lakers might be doing later in this trade season, but certainly going into next offseason. We're not going to get to all of it on this particular little bonus show, but remember, we are recording another episode for Tuesday, so we'll revisit a lot of these questions for Tuesday, and I'm sure throughout the week as more we get a little more information on this deal. But let's start with just the player that they're getting, because again, the Lakers aren't giving up much of consequence here. None wasn't playing a ton right now anyway, and once Reeves and Walker are back, was going to go back to probably not playing at all. The 3 second rounders isn't nothing for a team like the Lakers that doesn't have a whole lot of stuff available to them, but 2 of them are 2027 and a 29. So those are things that over the course of the next few years, the Lakers.
Per Woj, it's a 2023 second via Chicago, a 2029 LA zone, and the less favorable of 2028 between the Washington or LA seconds in 2028.
Right. Okay. So
and then Jake Fisher, a very, very plugged in reporter for Yahoo, friend of the show, he tweeted out, quote, "As of Friday, the Lakers offered Kendrick Nunn and 2 second-round picks to Washington for Rui Hachimura. Sources said the Wizards were holding out for first-round value for their former lottery selection. A third second-rounder gets it done on Monday."
And so, but the point I was getting at too was especially that when you have second rounders that are as far out as 28 and 29, those are assets that can probably be reacquired. Giving up the 2023 as a team that drafts well, that's not nothing for the Lakers to give it up. But they didn't have to give up something of consequence to do that for this season to pick up Hachimura. He is a flyer that they can take, plug him in. He makes sense from a roster standpoint. He is a restricted free agent going into this offseason, which means the Lakers, if they give him a qualifying offer, which is a little less than $8 million, they have the ability to control whether or not he will be on the roster next year. And he's only 24 years old. So, the Lakers don't have a lot of access to young talent that they can control going forward. So in those kind of mechanical senses, plays a position of need. The Lakers need more young player with still some potential, certainly, and gives them access to a player that they can control going forward. A lot of that makes sense for assets that aren't overwhelmingly valuable.
Yeah, and Woj tweeted out also that the Lakers made this deal with the intention of working out an extension with Hachimura. Obviously, it's not a done deal, depending on how well he plays with the Lakers. He might resuscitate his market value around the league after what's been a very up and down, I'd even go so far as to say largely down year for Hachimura, although it's felt in a lot of ways like he's just been uncomfortable, period, this year. And this year for the Wizards, like many years for the Wizards, has been sort of strange.
He's been fine. I mean, he's been not wildly different this year than he's been in other years. He's averaging 13 points a game. He's averaging 4.5 rebounds, 1.5, about a little over 1 assist a game. He's shooting almost 49%. Almost everything he's doing is, relatively speaking, in line with his career averages. So he's had a couple huge games, put up 30 points. I think it was last week. So he's a capable scorer, that's for sure. It's just he's been a disappointment over the course of his career. He's not going to be available. You're not going to get the ninth pick in the draft from 2019, correct? For 3 second rounders in Kendrick Nunn, if he's playing really well. Yeah. He wouldn't be available. He has been a disappointment over the course of his career. The bigger question is, put in a different context with the Lakers, where he is not going to be seen as the former 9th round pick, but a guy they picked up for 3 second rounders, playing with LeBron, playing with Anthony Davis, put in a very specific role, perhaps like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was, or something like that. Can that be the thing that unlocks him as a solid role player on a good team? Because he's never played on a good team, really, not a really good one.
Well, I first of all, just for those reasons alone, I like this deal. I like the Lakers doing this. They're going to need more size, even when AD is back. They need guys that they feel confident, that they can actually put on the floor, because Damian Jones is still not that guy. You want to ease AD's burden once he's back. You want to be easing LeBron's burden, period, if you possibly can. And, as we've seen over this course of this period with Thomas Bryant, on balance, doing quite well with filling in for AD, there still can be some degree of diminishing returns. Wenyen Gabriel, certain matchups don't work well for him, and he's prone to foul trouble. Hachimura, it's interesting. The first couple of years he was with the Wizards, I was looking at some of his positional splits, and according to Cleaning the Glass, he toggled more between a 4 and a 5. Mm-hmm. And then the last couple of years has been toggling more between a 3 and a 4, which would obviously be more of the Lakers' need for him. Just in terms of that more 3-sized wing, but also, like I said before, even if you're thinking of him on the bigger side of that swingman equation, They just need more guys that they can put on the floor. Kendrick Nunn was not going to be on the team next year. Maybe he ends up a long-term play for the Lakers. And if he does, and this is something we'll talk about, it's interesting just because that could potentially signal a lot about what they may do at the deadline, what they may do this offseason, because that would be eating into that cap
Correct.
space.
If you give Rui Hachimura a qualifying offer, that means you go from $30 million more or less to about $23 million, to spend. So yeah, if they do that, it's an indicator of what they think they can get, and that's something that we'll get into deep in terms of the implications of this from a strategy standpoint. Probably for Tuesday's show.
Yeah, and looking over some of his numbers too, he's been really good from the corner on threes. Like he's been, according to Cleaning the Glass, I believe in the 70th percentile. If anything, the problem is he's not taking enough of them.
Mm-hmm.
With LeBron and that ability to find you in the corner, or Russ and that ability to find you in the corner, and there is some familiarity between Hachimura and Russ from Russ's 1 year in DC. I looked up their two-man lineup numbers, by the way, Brian. The net rating was basically net neutral. Fine.
You know what? Although, on the Washington Wizards, and net neutral is probably okay.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of like plus 25 on an actual team,
on a
real team. So I we'll get into more of the specifics for Tuesday and over the week. I like this though. I think if nothing else, this is a pretty low-cost flyer for the Lakers with the potential to turn into something bigger that fills a need, or at least addresses, if nothing else, a need right now. And it does signal the front office perhaps giving more serious consideration to bolstering things for this year. We'll see where it goes, but if nothing else, it's a sign.
Yeah, and so I look at this, and there's Hachimura he is physically exactly what you would want in a sort of modern NBA power forward. He's a very good athlete. He's strong, big, strong, young player, and all that. But he's never been a particularly good defender. It's not translated into good defense. On the flip side is he plays for the Wizards. It is very difficult to grow in as a young player to be a good defender when you're playing for that team.
Yeah.
He has been sort of a all over the place kind of offensive guy who doesn't do a lot of other things. He can score, but never been a particularly good rebounder, never been a great assist guy, whatever. There have been a bunch of different stats, and we'll wrap it up here. Like Kirk Goldsberry pointed out, the great analyst, good on catch and shoot things. Another Michael Sykes pointed out, follows, I forget the outlet, but he covers the Wizards. But so it all comes down to, what do the Lakers think they can do with him? Can they maximize what he's good at while minimizing what he isn't? And that is the secret to all role players. Can you maximize what they're good at while minimizing what asks for things that they're not? And we'll see how that goes. But I agree with you. It's a good trade in balance. And if my choice is Rui Hachimura or Cam Reddish, I'll take Rui Hachimura every time.
If nothing else, more of what Hachimura is, for better and for worse.
Right.
He is a much more defined player.
Hachimura is a flawed player too, and has some negatives on his statistical resume and all that stuff. But given a choice between those guys, if I'm giving up the same package for either one of them, I'd much rather have Hachimura. Much more to come on this deal, including particularly what we think it might foreshadow for the upcoming off season, and the way the Lakers might try to put this thing back together, because there are some serious implications to that. Also going to be previewing the Clippers game Tuesday. It's a big game, Andy, only separated by 2 games, so a lot to do there. But before we go, Andy, this
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks, and Laker fans, if you have not signed up for Prize Picks yet, you are missing out on daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market, more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator, superstar players, bench players. Just pick 2 to 6 players, predict whether they will notch more or less in their Prize Picks stats projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money. And Prize Picks offers projections on everything from NFL to women's college basketball, even disc golf. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Safe, fast withdrawals. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com, sign up, play daily fantasy sports, and first-time users, you can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. Again, don't forget the promo code Locked On for that instant match. If you are not playing PrizePicks, you honestly don't know what you're missing.
Andy, you may have noticed yesterday some big NFL playoff games, playoffs in full swing, and we are super excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they are the #1 sports book in America, and that's FanDuel. If you are new to FanDuel, even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers can join today and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/locked on. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to the point spreads, to the player props. Those are always funny, like throwing in the money around on the player props. And you can even combine your bets for a chance at bigger payouts with same game parlays. So it's an app that's safe, it's secure, it's easy to use. And remember, especially as the playoffs roll on, you got the NBA, you got college, everything going on. Your first $5 bet, you get $150 in free bets, win or lose. FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, more to come on the Rui Hachimura deal, plus previewing Lakers Clippers. That's all Tuesday.